The Queen's death has raised a lot of questions to what the future holds for Commonwealth nations, a remnant of the British Empire and which is home to 2.4 billion people living in the world's largest, smallest, richest countries, spanning 5 regions and the United Kingdom in particular. Hello and welcome to Let's Talk. My name is Olujoke Masako. With the topic UK and the next chapter, my guest is Mr. Dimeji Awoyemi, a UK-based media practitioner. But before we go deeply into the program, I would like to remind you to please subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on all of our social media platforms, and enjoy the ride with us. Thank you so much, Mr. Dimeji Awoyemi, for coming on the show.
My pleasure. You're very much welcome.
So would you support the motion that Queen's death has opened the floodgates of self-rule campaign, looking at how vast the realm is?
Well, I know that it is anticipated and it should be expected, bearing in mind that we had a queen, we had an head of the Commonwealth that ruled for 70 years. And that seemed long because there had been several changes democratically. And so it was anticipated, it is expected that there will be such agitation. There are several arguments in support and against. And for someone like me that has benefited and also have enjoyed a significant role that the late Queen Elizabeth and the impact she made, I'm caught between whether it's a personal view or I should go with the general view. But let me start with the general. The general view is that it is expected. You know, we're talking of about 15 more countries in the Commonwealth realm who would desire that, look, we don't want the Queen. I'm sorry, we don't want the coordination or the headship of government to be far away there from England. So the probability for agitation, for me, is very much anticipated. More so, one or two are also granted such liberty to go. So, but for me, I think as far as governance at those levels, I mean, if you look at the countries, say for example, Australia and New Zealand, there are no threat to democratic values. There are no threat to imposing any view upon them. It's just a kind of what is ceremonial headship that I refer to as what obtains. So be that as it may, I think since it is expected, let there be more of such agitation. But if you allow me also, let me pointedly say that we already have one in-house. And what I mean by that is the Scottish referendum, which failed the last time and is being agitated again to take place again. I think if that scales through, that may make other countries to make a similar request and to find a means to be hedged out. But personally, I think I have enjoyed the Commonwealth. I think I've enjoyed the headship by the late head of Commonwealth, the Queen Elizabeth, and I don't want to speak for King Charles III of how it will be in his reign. So that's my position, if that is helpful.
Okay, so King Charles actually is more political and less regal. How do you think the colonies and the Commonwealth member states would accept the new monarch, seeing that most of them probably stayed back or stayed out of respect for the late Queen and not to offend her?
Yeah, absolutely. You're very much right. Because as you've heard, and as we know, there hasn't been any other person who has stayed that long on apprenticeship. He is currently 74. And that means, unlike the late Queen Elizabeth, who was opportune to come to get to know that she had known. And by 25, 26 years old, she was already on the throne. So in those years of our reign, 70 years, yes, we have had King Charles III speaking into several issues that borders on governance, issues that borders on of his interest. The climate change. So he had made some political comments, but now responsibility has come upon him, and so we are weighing in to see, will he behave, or will it stay within the realm of the palace, and and give an ambience, give a similar matured, very depth, very a unifying factor that Queen Elizabeth did. It wasn't that she didn't have views, perceptions. All she did was to coordinate, was to make sure that governance reaches out to the people without necessarily imposing, without necessarily, and even when she had views, they were not made public. She would rather do the weekly briefing with the Prime Minister, meet with the Commonwealth conferences, and just share a view quietly, not imposing. It's basically to remind the leaders, what are your responsibilities? What have we gained together? So I see that King Charles III is actually coming in wearing a very, very big shoe. How it would now be reorientated, how he will leave his political views and comments, and how his courage and personality will bring so much grace and honor that we saw in Queen Elizabeth into that, into the monarch and into that office. It's a lot to be expected. My personal view is that he's carrying a very big load, and one can only hope that he gives all the character, of the wisdom and the maturity that office requires, because there's a precedence. But if he chooses to go on political discussion, political issues, asserting himself on what he wants, and then that means we are indeed entering a new level. Is it to be a new era?
Okay. Now take Australia, for example. Now that the Queen, there's so much respect has gone. I read that Republicans over there are getting ready for a replay of referendum. Now, what then will happen if all the Commonwealth nations decides to pull out?
I want you to know that there are structures. There's a Secretary General of the Commonwealth. It is not a union or a relationship by coercion. There are procedures of disengagement. There are even 2 pending applications to join the Commonwealth. The New Sudan, they want to be part of it. So probably they're seeing something. Probably there's a benefit that they think, yeah, we can partake of this, and it will be mutual. So that's why I said we need to weigh in. Those who are asking to come out of it should be able to bring out, to relate out, and say the reason why we want to come out of it is for this reason, this following reason. And for me, to be honest, I haven't seen, I didn't see any force. That's why I said, late Queen Elizabeth was, she carried, she was a unifier. She gave the Commonwealth a kind of a courage that others are envying. What I mean by that is, however ceremonial you may look like, however on the outside you will think there is no impact, the truth is she made her impact behind the scene. So for those, however, who also would desire that, well, whether we are the Queen or now is the King, we want to come out. I am so excited and I'm comforted that there are procedures. So you go through your referendum, you go through you go through an application, and then it will be reviewed, it will be considered, and there's no fuss about it. So I think, like I said, 15, 16 of them still there. If gradually, I don't think it will be a mass. Yes, okay, that's what I want to point out. I don't think it will be that we go to the next conference. I'm not sure which country is hosting the next one, and then we just put it to vote that we no longer want to be associated with Buckingham Palace, and there we're going. I don't think that will be a procedure, because the Commonwealth has a statutory process of disengagement. If one after the other the process starts, and if it runs through the tenure of King Charles III, it's something we will be waiting for. We're watching. It's too early in the days. However, let me also say that there are a few things that the Commonwealth benefits. For example, on the educational level, there are certain scholarships that are Commonwealth based. There are certain programs, the Prince Trust, the late Duke of Edinburgh, the Prince Philip's, as a project, they have projects on that borders on climate change, on environmental activities. There is also a scheme that started to deal with recently, although it's not yet enhanced, has to do with the role of women and the girl child. So that's what I mean, that for nations who benefit from such, the probability of them asking to go will be very minimal to my position. But for honor, maybe you just want to say we're no longer, because you see, the agitators of this are basically people who kept referring to slave trade. But for some, they believe to be together as a commonwealth, to share information, to share the changes that have happened, and to be of benefit to one another, and to be it pays, rather than to be spending energy and to be dissipating energy on we don't want the Commonwealth again, we want to go. But like I said, it's a change, really. It's a new era, and we need it, and it's very early in the days. We'll see how it comes.
Thank you so much for that. Let's quickly go on this break, and we will be right back. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, the program is Let's Talk, and I have been discussing with Mr. Dimeji Awoyemi. He is a UK-based media practitioner. Thank you so much for standing by and watching us, and thank you to Mr. Awoyemi for standing by.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, from the look of things, King Charles III really does not have the kind of love received by his mother, according to a 2021 poll from the non-profit Angus Reid Institute. The poll reveals that only 34% of respondents would support him remaining as head of state.
Yeah.
What's your view on that?
Yeah, it's again, it's been a challenge, and I guess what makes him king today is because the late mother and Queen Elizabeth, covered and statutorily settled all that before she died. She hands, the last 3 years handed over, allowed King Charles III to represent her in major meetings. But in terms of the environment, in terms of the polls that you are referring to, most people really, as you have rightly pointed out, the tendency is that the people pan towards the son, William, that look, you are already old, and that to have a younger person I mean, William is around 40, 42 now, will be better. Now, coming from that angle, I know that those who defend the monarch will also say, look, he's alive and there's a succession plan. And since he's alive, if it's his turn, let him have it. There is also an argument from those who are really, really hurting, who are feeling bad about his marital issue, especially with the death of late Diana. It was from that point that some people felt, all right, if you could have done this, and and it's obvious, it's proven, and it's established that while you were having her as the wife, you were already also having somebody else on the side, who is our current queen consort, Camilla. That really, really, for some of those who dwell on the moral grounds, they can't comprehend it, that that such a thing could happen. From those who are coming from the spiritual angle, and that is from the church also, ideally, they also felt that, look, whoever will become shouldn't have such experience of having a second wife, and that actually a group, some of the people were expecting him to say, when the late Queen Elizabeth offered and did pronounce that he was to take over from her, it was expected that, like others, like it was somebody that it was an uncle to Queen Elizabeth that abdicated, that made a late father also to come to the throne. That, look, you also, you have an opportunity to say, well, I'm over 70 now, got a responsible son who also has been playing the role in the public eye, and he's been guided. It's been, the monarchy is quite interesting. They've nurtured them for days of honor and for times like this. So the expectation was that he will also step down and bring the honor so early at the age of 42 to William, but that didn't happen. So you see that all this is playing out. One can only wish him well. Like I said, I mean, at 74, does he have the energy? Does he have the strength? Does he have the maturity? Does he have all it takes to be the unifier, like late Queen Elizabeth, and both in United Kingdom and into the Commonwealth, be a unifying factor, and in his reign, bring about peace?
So, what's at stake for United Kingdom as a nation?
So, for United Kingdom as a nation, also, there are challenges there already. I mean, if you permit me, as a measure of digression, even though she knows that she can't it now, can you see the irony that the current prime minister, years back, is one of the people that pronounced that she never believed in the monarch, and if there's a way, we should take it off the constitution and just have a ceremonial head. But now it's the same monarch, the same late Queen Elizabeth, that confirmed her to become the prime minister, and 2 days after she died. Now, so that's off her now. She can't change it. She's the prime minister. Whatever comes now will be the prerogative of the incumbent, the King Charles III. However, for United Kingdom also, we have already the quiet, actually, it's not quiet, of all the 4 home states, Wales, Scotland, Ireland, and then the UK. Scotland has attempted it once. The referendum failed, and I recall very well, 48 hours before that, going to the polls, I remember late Queen Elizabeth, all she did was to travel to Balmoral 2 days before that referendum. And as she was asked, it was a very simple press statement. I was installed. over United Kingdom. I want to remain queen over a United Kingdom. Simple. And that was how the result of the referendum became. It was a very margin. I think it was 58 something. So it's a quiet one here. Those who defend the monarch will also, they know they're looking on how King Charles III will pan out. But generally, in terms of governance, there is so much that the palace, that office has done in terms of credibility, in terms of honor, in terms of investment. There are loads of people who are here just because of the honor of that office. And those who have such commitment, such relationship, they're still watching. And in this new era, just the way, and I like the way you put it, indeed a new era. And how we will walk out of this, well, it's something we're watching. Generally, however, the palace does not do less than what any government in place. Conservative are in place now, and the prime minister and everyone who are serving with him, they have a responsibility to keep the welfare system, to keep the nation going. As long as they don't fail, and as long as they pay attention to advice, support from the palace, I don't see any need for agitation. And if there's any, there is always a process and a procedure. That is the consolation. It will be put into a public vote, it will be considered, and it doesn't even come 1 week. It's something that goes over and over and over until the majority will have their say.
Okay. Now, we know that there's been a lot of agitations, things coming out from places we do not know. Some people are talking about the crown, the this, the that. But let's quickly go away from all of those things. Like you said, as time goes on, things will unfold, and we'll know where UK will be at some point in time. Now, away from all of that, behind closed doors, do you think the broken relationship between William and Harry will be mended for the sake of family and support for their father?
I think it will. We saw a little bit of it during the burial ceremony. And again, they were nurtured, they were trained to hide their emotions. It's a structure, the form we call it. The palace is the process of orientation and induction is of the top-notch order. And you will have seen it in the training of these two guys. But I know that the modern day living and the expectation of a young person bears a load on the two of them. They want to be themselves. They want to be normal people, not being watched, not being engaged. And since Harry couldn't wait into that process, and something tells him that, look, I need to break the protocol. I felt, and I quite agree with him. There's no need to be compelled to be doing something. And he was at liberty from, with his wife, Meghan, and they were able to get that approval from Queen Elizabeth. Now, when in the course of the burial ceremony, he was allowed, and his uncle, Andrew, were allowed to don the military regalia, except that they moved the title ER from the PIP. Well, I felt that's the process. Secondly, when the two of them also came out to meet members of the public, and there was a chemistry of understanding and forgetting the past, as it were. So I'm hoping that the two of them will be able to mend fences, see themselves as we are brothers, and it was only the two of them, and they grew up together. It's just that the responsibility that will be on Williams now is we may not give room to that opportunity of seeing one another, of traveling anyhow. I mean, he can't do anything anyhow again. And here we are, Harry and the wife have already relocated. They are already outside the United Kingdom, then the US. So the best you will now be doing will be phone calls, will be at best virtual meetings, as you know. But they know that the responsibility that they have shouldn't be a barrier between the two of them. Now, for the help of the king also, I also sense it may be one of the things he will pursue so that he can have the support of a general of a larger number. Yeah, of a larger number. The polls you were referring to, they're not hidden from somebody like him. He has an option to either not be bothered or to embrace it and to see that look the way we that we're in the good books of the public. For example, he's already saying they have to slim down the staff because before he became king, he already had staff. Those staff who were working with the late mother, they will need to balance them out. Are they going to keep them or edge them out? Pay them off. And then the coronation that is coming, if it carries the same peeps and pageantry that we have during the burial, that's a lot of money. And we're having inflation, we're having challenges with energy bills. How can you be spending such in that environment? So these are the things that may change the tone and the disposition of citizens and of the public to the palace.
Thank you so much for that. Any final word, even as we go?
Well, my final word, like I said, I mean, on the note that you were coming with, other than William and Harry, I also hope that the King Charles III has another reliable, very quiet, very responsible, and she has also gained wisdom and in his sister Anne. And then with Andrew and Edward, I also hope he will be able to rally them round, particularly Edward, who has also done very well. He has kept a very cool, very attractive record of public service, and irrespective of the challenges that Andrew had and being derobed and all the challenges of pending court case in the US, I'm hoping that he will also go to the back room and beckon on them to let them know that look, it's a new era, and if you want to be responsible, if you want to be responsive to the public, the royal family, we need to work together. We need to see eye to eye. We need to be less scandalous and not let there be no scandal, whether us as children, grandchildren, let's give this honor that has been bestowed on us. Let's give it a public acceptance, and it is on them. They are the one to do it. They can't expect the public to just embrace it just because it's not Africa. Just because they have been enthroned or they have been given or they were born, it's a privilege. So they need to earn it.
Thank you once again. I really appreciate your time. Thank you. And to you out there, thank you too for being part of the show. Until next time, I remain Olujoke Masaku. Bye for now.